Good morning, everyone. Right now, my Fitbit is being charged, so I don't even know what time it is, but my microwave is saying 8:41 a.m. Hi, Charlotte. So I wasn't planning on making this video, but I thought like I should make this video because there was some, I wouldn't say it's controversy, but I'm like, okay, by the way, just I wanted to kind of talk about it because it is annoying me with how news outlets are not fact checking. So I just wanted to have it so if you're trying to figure out what was fact, what was not, what was omitted, what was included, I'm going to just talk about it here. So this is going to be regarding some of the articles or the video that you saw on my frugality or my personal finance tips, I guess. So just to set the record straight, MarketWatch, owned by Dow Jones, reached out to me for a video, and that was about last year. I don't exactly remember when they reached out to me, but I know they filmed in the summer. They filmed me in the summer of last year. The video only came out this year in August. I think it was August. The video only came out in July of 2023. So it basically took an entire year before it actually came out. That was the only thing I consented. Everything else that came after, so just to let you know in case you were not involved or even aware of it, was that MarketWatch was really, they saw my YouTube videos on my debt-free journey for student loans, and they saw that I was also buying a condo at the time. Actually, at that time, I already bought a condo. So they already saw that I bought a condo. And then what was new news was the fact that we were wedding planning as well on a budget. So they just thought like, okay, Christine, I want to make a video on this and share it to the world. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. It's not like too private because I literally talk about this on my YouTube channel anyways, because I do want to share the wealth. If my mom is watching this, she was like, you should not share all these details. It's too private. And I'm like, I don't think it's private. I think it's a good way to show people what they do with their money and how they get there. Like, why do you have to hide all of this and kind of like not share the wealth? I'm in the opposite. Like, I kind of made a whole YouTube channel about tech consulting and about money and about all the things that I do for the sake of sharing, so that way you don't have to feel like you're on there on your own, because I was on my own for a lot of it. So when it comes to MarketWatch, it was the only video I did. Then after that, the video came out, I think, in last month, so in July 2023, and I actually only recently found out, like, I think it was on Monday. It was like last week, basically. I got a comment on one of my videos saying, like, hey, I saw you on Yahoo Finance. I'm like, I'm on Yahoo Finance? Like, what? So I typed in Yahoo Finance, Christine Wong, saw the article, and I realized that they actually basically took the content or the information from that video and made it into an article on MoneyWise. I think MoneyWise is like their wise money or their personal finance little column or section on Yahoo Finance, so it's not stock related. And I was like, okay, I did not consent to this. I did not even look this over before. But I also know, like, you know, freedom of speech. My only thing was like, I wish I kind of knew about it before it went out. And I also wish that, like, I didn't even know that they were affiliated. I actually was Googling, was Dow Jones or MarketWatch even affiliated with Yahoo Finance? It was not. I even confirmed with the producer. She wasn't even aware that this was coming out, that this article was out. They weren't even credited. Like, MarketWatch wasn't even credited in Yahoo Finance. I thought that was kind of stupid. Like, they did all the work. You didn't even interview me. You didn't even ask for my consent, yet you made a whole article on it. The plus side, though, is that I got some traffic from it on my YouTube channel or just in general on me. However, it got the wrong kind of attention because after that, Daily Mail took that content and made it into their own article, which, again, the only thing that they've actually reached out to me was on the same day that the Yahoo Finance article came out, was like, hey, we would like to use a clip of your YouTube video from your budgeting, your couples budgeting one that just recently came out. I'll link it over here. And then the other one was like the MarketWatch video, which was not my video. So I ended up CCing the producer and she gave her options and blah, blah, blah. And then that was it. She said, thank you. Then all of a sudden, my mom was like, hey, what is this article? And it was actually from her old newspaper, Singtao Daily. It's a New York-based Chinese newspaper. And so I was like, what? but I saw the word Daily Mail. I don't actually really know Chinese fluently. I can kind of hear it. I can kind of speak it a little bit, but I can barely read it. So when my mom said, like, here's this article, she took a screenshot of it. I think it was like an online newsletter of some sort. And she was like, "What? Why does it say you're 36? And why does it say you're from a poor family?" And I'm like, to me, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I didn't say I was 36 anywhere. Like, that's not even a right number in any kind of case. I thought maybe it was a typo, but it was 2 digits wrong. I'm 27. So I typed in Daily Mail, Christine Wong. I did not think the YouTube video, like embed or clip, whatever they're going to use, was going to be that fast. They actually literally like created it the same day. I actually should double check the timestamp. I'm going to put the information on the page here, on the screen here, if the video came first or the article came first. I don't know. The video consent form specifically. So what the Daily Mail was doing was they were actually basing it off of Yahoo Finance, so telephone game. I'm going to get more into that later on, but it was like a telephone game. They were basing it off of the Yahoo Finance. They were not basing off of MarketWatch because MarketWatch was not quoted or credited or in any way in the original article. So Daily Mail said I was 36 years old and said I was a Google executive. I'm going to put like screenshots here because now I've actually emailed back to that video producer, say like, hey, this is incorrect. I'm not 36. Please change it. I'm 27. And I'm not a Google executive. I'm a Google employee. And I actually like was really adamant about that because I didn't know if I would get in trouble for that, because what if I'm posing myself as a Google executive? That is just really bad. And I'm nowhere close to a Google executive. So I sent an email and said like, please correct this. This may or may not be an issue with my employer. Please correct it. He profusely apologized, and then the reporter herself like emailed me directly and apologized as well, but also asked if I wanted to collaborate on future articles. And after this, I don't think I want to. I'm sorry. I did not respond to her email. I don't think I want to after this. So then after that, I realized like Singtao Daily, they probably, I don't even worry about the Chinese ones anymore, but there was another one apparently my mom like forwarded to me on WeChat. I don't even think it was an article. I think it was like a blog post or something like that. Used the same old information, 36 years old, Google executive. I'm just like, ugh. Everything else is somewhat okay because at least Yahoo Finance, they kind of paraphrase a lot of things as if it's their own content. Daily Mail, however, based it off of the video, so they use quotes. But to give you some context, the filming took an entire day. It was literally like an 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. kind of filming in my apartment or a neighborhood or whatever. So there was a lot of context that had to be cut out into the 4-minute video that ends up being out there on YouTube. So likewise, when all of these are pulling from that video and not coming from the source, they don't get the context. So there was a lot of things like, oh, Christine, you steal trays from Accenture. I'm like, I do not steal trays. Actually, that was the other thing. It's like, for me, they kept on capitalizing on the fact that I steal trays, or I don't steal trays. To them, they're like, I take trays from work. But the only employer in the entire article and the entire video even was Google. But I bought a condo, I paid off my student loans during the time I was at Accenture. Just currently right now, I'm at Google. I've only been at Google for 1 year, about like 1 year and a few months now. But because of that, everyone thinks I did it while I was at Google. I'm like, I did not. I was only here at Google for 1 year. Everything else was from like literally during the pandemic or like a little bit after the pandemic. So I was still at Accenture at that time. So the tray situation, I'm going to say this once and for all because for some reason the Daily Mail comments, and I know it's kind of like trashy news outlet, trashy, gossipy, whatever kind of tabloidy comments and people that usually go to it. I'm sorry if you read Daily Mail, but they do not fact check, and it's very clear from this exact situation. So they basically said like, hey, you were stealing food. I'm like, why are you stealing food? Let me set the record straight. I am not stealing food because, number one, that was from Accenture. It was a holiday party that literally everyone was going to an after party. And it was actually a rented space from one of the employees at Accenture. It was actually a Workday New York office holiday party. So it wasn't even like an Accenture holiday party. So when I say Workday New York, I meant like Accenture Workday holiday. So someone's apartment, an employee that actually worked there, he still works there, I think. I need to double check. But he actually was like, hey, we have this like rooftop space you can rent out, and that's what they ended up doing. And we ordered catering as well. They were all going to an after party, and we needed to clean up the space fast. So all the food was either going to go to or either going to the garbage, or we take it home. So I ended up taking trays of food home, and Addison at the time was working at Accenture with me, so we took food home. Otherwise, I literally saw food before me like go into the garbage. I think that's a waste of food. And so I took food. We went to the Subway, we took it home, and then that was our food for like basically the entire week. It was plenty of food. It was like fruits, vegetables, sandwiches kind of thing, like basic kind of wraps and everything. So that was what I meant by taking trays of food home. I think when people imagine trays, they think of like you go to a cafeteria, you go to a canteen, you see the gigantic metal trays. I think people would know, especially at Google, that I'm taking a tray home, especially when those trays are like literally meant to be used in that little, I don't know how to explain it, but in that thing where you basically keep warm, and it's for serving. It's not to take home. It's not like one of those disposable trays you could just take home. No. So I did, however, take food home as like a Tupperware. They do provide Tupperware, and they also have food to go. You can take like sandwiches and wraps to go as well. And I don't even do it that often. I actually do it like probably once a week, twice a week. And nowadays, like I haven't even taken any snacks or drinks home an entire year. So when I say year, I mean like 2023, 2022 a little bit, but this year, honestly, work has been so crazy that I literally don't even have time to go make my way there and take food home. And a lot of times I'm actually going to a workout class after, so the food will literally just sit in my bag. So I ended up not doing that. I also don't snack, so I don't take any snacks home. I don't take drinks home because we have a soda stream, we have water, we have tea. I don't take any drinks home. If anything, it's just like food for dinner a little bit later on. But nowadays, I don't even do that. I cook. So to be honest, like that helped me in the beginning when there was a craze of like, oh my God, I'm saving so much money. Oh, the food is so good. Now it's just like, whatever. The good food is only good for up to a certain point, but I didn't really bring anything back anymore. So that's like basically the story. And then I wanted to address this because my mom was like, why does it say you're from a poor family? I spent like over $100,000 on you to like raise you. And I'm like, okay, so I'm not from a poor family, but I'm also not from a rich family. I think it also depends relativity of like where you're from, because my dad works as a city employee, so he works for the government technically. I'm not gonna name anything, but I also don't want to like reveal too much privacy kind of information. But he does not make six figures. He actually made less than my starting salary at Accenture, so already right off the bat, I made more than him. And then my mom, she is self-employed, but also she works as a manager at a lab. I honestly don't know how much she makes, but I know she does not make as much as me right now. But a lot of it was basically, if you look at other people, they're kind of like lower middle class. I think the part that is like the most confusing is that we were in Great Neck New Hyde Park area, which is, or actually when you think about it, I went to Great Neck school districts, which is very expensive. You have to have like a lot of high property tax, and that area is just really rich and expensive. You think Great Gatsby, you think Great Neck. This is actually where the story is based out of. We learned this in school. But we're in New Hyde Park, which is I don't like to say it, but it's the poorer version of Great Neck. Half of New Hyde Park is Queens, half of New Hyde Park technically qualifies for Long Island, and therefore the Great Neck school districts, and that's actually where we were. Our house is actually cheaper than our condo currently. So I wanted to say that because it was just a little bit hard for my mom to be like, you came from a poor family? We did not come from a rich family, but we did have a lot of things that I was able to enjoy. So for example, vacations. We did do vacations on a budget, and vacation was like once a year, if anything. I did have to work a part-time job at Staples to be able to pay for anything I wanted personally. So all of my income was birthday money, which was like about $100, $200. And because they don't really know what we wanted anymore, so they just gave cash. And then Christmas money, again, $100, $200. Because my birthday's in January, it's actually very easy to just like clump it up, and then we would literally go shopping with friends after that. All right, camera died, so I had to charge it again. I'm actually charging the camera as I'm talking because I just want to get it over with. But I do not come from a family. I don't come from a rich family, but I also don't come from a poor family. I did have a lot of luxuries, though, such as they did help me pay for college. Just to be completely transparent, BU gave me about like $40,000 to $45,000 in grants, and my parents basically paid for dorm like $10,000 a year. So that was pretty much what it covered for room and board, and everything else was student loans. So they were able to help me a little bit. I think it's because the grants were actually need based, so naturally I was able to get a lot of it from BU. Honestly, I gotta say, BU is like very Boston University. If you don't know, is very heavy on the financial aid. So it was actually the best package I got from everyone. So naturally, BU was going to be the one that I wanted to go for, and so after that, we were able to go on vacations about once a year. We would always go to like the budget hotels, so never anything too fancy. Only after I got to Accenture that I actually got to enjoy like the nice hotels. So think about like the Holiday Inns, the Fairfield Inns, basically anything that had free breakfast. Some of them were even motels. Some of them were like really, really low budget places that were less than $100 a night. And we would do a double bed with literally 2 people per bed. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to deal with this. I just slept on the floor. A lot of my money was through Staples, so I worked part-time. At that time, I think it was like about 10 to 15 hours a week. And I was working minimum wage at $7.25. It went up to like $7.50 at one point. Ooh. And then again, taxes came out, so literally was barely any money, but I paid for my own. Whenever I went out, I paid for my own food. Whenever I shopped, it was my own money that I used. Transportation, I always took the bus and subways because that was all I could afford. I could not take the Long Island Railroad like my friends did. So back then, it was just like I kind of had to do everything on my own when it comes to my spending money, because my only income at that time was my Staples job, my birthday/Christmas money, since they were so close together, and Chinese New Year, which was not that much, to be honest. And now that I'm married, I have to start giving them myself for red envelopes. But I did not really get allowance. I don't get money from my parents on like what I can buy for anything. If anything, whenever my family went to China, and sometimes it's when we go, we've only been to China twice, and the other times is like they went and then they bought clothes for us. It had like misspelled words, it had like knockoff kind of looks to it, very cheap quality. So naturally, a lot of times I bought my own clothes when we went with friends. My friends' parents would always drive us to like Roosevelt Field Mall, if you guys know that, in Long Island. We would buy clothes on like Black Friday or right after the holidays, because that's when I got all my money from Christmas and birthday. So that's how I mostly got my stuff. And we did have luxuries where my mom like really prioritized education. It was like the number one thing she prioritized. So she did pay for like piano lessons, ice skating lessons, tennis lessons, guitar lessons, swim lessons. A lot of times it was like summer school. We never had summer camp. We had like summer camp from my school, from my Great Neck School District, which was not even that good. We didn't really have a car, and at least we didn't have a car until like maybe I was in my senior year. Not even college. I was in college, and it was a used car. It was a Lexus, but it was a used car, and somehow my brother actually got bullied from it because it's not a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW. So that's like the kind of neighborhood we lived in. But even though to the typical like New Yorker, because honestly a lot of New Yorkers here are lower class or lower middle class, we actually lived a pretty good life, because Addison's family is I wouldn't say lower class, but like lower middle class as well. And while they had 4 kids and we lived in Long Island, so the cost of living was a little bit lower, they've never been on vacations. They've had a lot of things that they weren't able to do because their parents had a restaurant. I was able to at least get a lot of that thing, all of that. Not a lot of it was actually maintained. I think the only thing that really maintained was like piano lessons and guitar lessons, but everything else was actually like, it was like 5 classes. Then we ended it because we just really did not like it, or we just did not like it enough to keep it. But I would say that we didn't really live a rich family life like I know other people did, at least from school. When they go like, oh, we went on vacation in this country, I'm like, oh, I don't even remember the last time I went on an international family trip. And to be honest, going on trips with my family is a pain, so we don't like it. My family did have a timeshare in Pocono, so we went there a lot. Again, very easy, very quick to go there from New York, so it really wasn't that much interesting. Like I was jealous when I had friends go to Japan or Korea or Europe, and I only was able to go to Europe after I was in college, when it was just my mom and me, because I think it was 2 factors. My dad is super stingy. He was the one that actually instilled a lot of these in me. So things like, don't turn on the AC until it's like actually hot, like 90 degrees hot. And even when I get home, I actually got in trouble if it's like actually like 85 degrees and the AC's on. Back then we had like the wall units, so like not the wall units, but like the ones that it wasn't in the window. My dad literally carved like a hole into our wall and then put this window unit in there. And he would actually like drive up to the driveway and see it on and come up and like, why is the AC on? So the way he would do it was turn on the AC, turn it off after like a few minutes when the room is cool, turn on the ceiling fan so it circulates that cool air. And that was literally all he kept on going for. The heat was never on either. I think the difference between now and then is that we had a house back then, so my dad controlled all the utilities. I'm in a condo, so the building controls the utilities. I still have to pay HOA dues no matter what. So whatever he comes up is whatever I get. I can't even control how hot or how cool it gets. The only thing I can control now that we've installed like actual like digital thermostats for our AC unit is like how cold it can get. But even so, I have it set on auto. I don't actually have it on all the time like I've seen other people do. Even when it's cold, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. So the only reason why it's not that, I honestly could have gone as high as like 80, 85, and I have done it, and Addison's like, what the hell? But it's because I'm living with him, and I'm living with cats, and I need to make sure the cats at least are not overheating. I have it a little bit lower than what I want. I actually use a blanket here because I'm just so used to the sweltering heat that my family would have at home. Even the AC units in his own house, in Addison's house, and Addison's family's house was like actually better than ours. So I kind of got a lot of my frugality through him, where I had to take the bus and subway everywhere because the $2.75, well now it's $2.90, but the $2.75 was all for me. I could not afford the Long Island Railroad because it was like $10 one way. I was like, there's no way I'm going to spend money on that. That's like literally 1/3 of a paycheck already at Staples. Not worth it. So I just took the bus and subway. And instead of like everyone else, they had like a friend's parent, or they had a parent drive them to the Long Island Railroad station, and then they just took the train. I actually had to take the bus and subway, and they're like, why would you do that? Like, it's so expensive. It's so cheap. It's so long. I'm like, well, that's all I could afford. So I think honestly, because of, it's a good and a bad thing, because I think because of the fact that my dad was really, he tried to basically instill like, yes, we are in a better place than my mom and dad back then, that we should still learn the values of everything. So I had to commute to my own job. There were times that my mom was like, oh, she's like a single young teenage girl, we gotta pick her up. And my dad was like, no, she gotta take the bus and subway. I'm like, ugh. So I did take the bus and subway, but my mom would sometimes pick me up from this bus station, a little bit different than me walking the 11 minutes in darkness in suburban area. Granted, it was like a good somewhat area, so it was not even that bad. If I were to walk home, it's just dark. So a lot of things can happen. But when it comes to that, my dad has basically instilled a lot of like, do things your own way, do things like with your own money, do things with your own effort, which I think is honestly kind of why I'm very independent, that I found my own job my own way. I learned my ropes around like my investments and my savings and all that. I did not learn a single thing about that from my family. The only thing that they kept on saying was like, get real estate. But my mom actually was like, but do it with, the only thing they were like was, be good with your money kind of thing. And that was all. Like, I did not really learn anything about investing. I did not learn anything about retirement or health insurance or anything like that in the financial realm from them. I had to learn from YouTube, just because like my dad worked in a government job, so he honestly did not really relate to the corporate world. And my mom was technically self-employed, but also works in a small I honestly don't even know how much she knows about it, but she doesn't know that much about this kind of area because neither of them have actually worked in a proper corporate job that has all the benefits that Accenture and Google does. I'm very honored. I'm very privileged to be able to have a company like Accenture and Google that has all these benefits right off the bat. Some people have to work up to it. But I had to do a lot of the research on my own on how to be smart about my money with friends, and even with my own friends, they also did not really know. So we all had to learn through YouTube. A lot of my friends they come from immigrant families as well, where they don't know much either, and they had to either work with each other or through YouTube. And a lot of it for me was I worked through colleagues. I actually worked with my manager. My manager had to walk through like what was health insurance, like what is a premium, what is a deductible. We had a whole session on that. I had to learn a lot of things on my own, basically. But I also kind of have to, I don't really have a good relationship with my dad, but I kind of have to thank him because of how he was. I was able to really cut a lot of costs down and be very independent earlier on and be sustainable that way. So while it was a whirlwind of how we got there, I do appreciate that. But at the same time, I do want to say, because of all those luxuries, we were not a poor family, but we also were not a rich family, or we did not at least like portray ourselves as a rich family because of all the things that we did. And a lot of the people that know us will know that. But from the outside, all they see is like, oh, you're from the Great Neck School District, you must be rich. Oh, you have a house, you must be rich. But that's not always the case. It's just, because of my family, they prioritized education. We were in that neighborhood, and that's exactly why. Right after we left, though, right after we graduated, my parents were like, we're leaving. We can't afford this property tax anymore. So that's what ended up happening. And actually, from what I heard, I think they had to even refinance the house to be able to pay for tuition as well, because my brother had to go to school as well. But thankfully, he had a scholarship. So I would also want to say that I am very frugal, but I still enjoy spending money on things I care about. So I, however, am very careful with where I spend my money. I do like months, maybe years of research before I spend something big. To buy the condo, it took us 2 to 3 years. We did so much research. I'm the type of person that like needs to get everything researched, everything put down on paper before we do anything. Even the wedding planning, okay, so I'm going to start from the beginning. Renting an apartment when I first moved out was Upper East Side. It took me a year. People say like, yeah, you only need to look a month in advance to be able to do it. But I took a year to do all the research, what goes into it, what I need to prepare. And likewise, when I got the affordable housing apartment, I did the same thing. I had everything prepared, everything printed, everything researched, everything blah, blah, blah. And I was able to do it. So in my opinion, the only reason why I was able to do a lot of things that I did was because I did a lot of research. I did a lot of preparation. I did research, like basically always be over prepared than under prepared. That was me all the time. So because I was able to do that, I knew when I was able to strike because I had all the information that I needed. So, and that's actually the same that I am with careers as well. So I always do research ahead of time. I do informational interviews. I always make sure that my resume and my LinkedIn is good. There's an update in my career though that I need to make. There's an update in my career though that I do need to make an update, but only when I have a little bit more information about it. So there's a lot of things like that I think it's because I plan a lot that I'm able to do things like this. So while I'm frugal on terms of like how I save money and how I do things, like the way, just to say it out here right now, I was going to make a video on this separately, but I use my own bank account. I basically use my Google job paycheck to pay the bills, to go through investments, to go through 401k, all of those pre-tax things like HSA, and to also go through my savings as purely that. All my spending money, though, is from my supplemental income. So that's my Rover, my YouTube, my career coaching, everything else that comes in. However, for those, because they're self-employed, I do have to kind of withhold money because I have to pay taxes during the time when I file for taxes. I actually probably should file it quarterly, but I don't make that much enough to be able to file quarterly yet. So that's what I actually do as my spending money. So I do spend money. I'm just very conservative with what I spend money with. how I spend money with. So if you do see me around like with a expensive handbag, it's because I just choose to do that with my excess money. Because I already have like my paycheck going to everything else. So I think I'm set there. And then like things like this, my DJ pocket that I'm filming out of right now was an investment, but I always say like, okay, is this the best product I can get at this time for exactly this? Why do I need this now? Why do I need this product right now? Do all the research I can. Should I wait? Should I not? I've literally taken months and years to research tiny little things like this to make sure it's even worth it. And I also think about, is my previous one even working? Is it like not working? Like, is that the reason why I'm buying a new one? That's the main reason why I would not buy a new one just to improve it, unless I see like a financial reason too. So for example, my ultra wide monitor is probably like so expensive. It's like $700, the most I've ever spent on a monitor. But I actually rationalized like, oh, it's really good for Excel sheets. It's good for multitasking. It's good for editing, which helped me a lot. So just in general, a lot of things like that, I have to make sure it actually does the job of everything I want. So I spend money when I want to. I save up money for it too. Like for my travels, I save up money through the excess money. Like the way I treat it is the joint bank accounts for all our joint expenses, which is at this point majority of them. My Amex savings, where I have the high yield, is where I have direct deposits, so it already goes in there. I don't even touch it. Of course, like I also have like my 401k, my HSA, all that other stuff like already taken out before it even hits me. And then I have my Chase bank account, my personal bank account for like my fun money. So it's always kept really small because it's like I don't really do it the traditional way, where I think some people use their checking account kind of like a savings account, like here's money on hand. If I need money from the savings, which I barely try to touch, I move it over from savings into my checking. But I don't actually just like overspend on my checking account. I only spend whatever I have in my checking account, even though I use credit cards. So I never carry a balance. I never do any of that. I've always paid in full. In fact, I paid in full previously before the actual deadline. I don't even know. I just always pay it before, so I don't even know what that time is called. But basically, I do spend money. I do value certain things more. So, for example, the gym, I would pay for lifetime, which is pretty expensive compared to a lot of options out there. I do pay for ClassPass because of that as well. So it's not like I am 100% frugal. One of the comments in, I think it was Yahoo Finance or Daily Mail, was like, oh, she's going to die without like dealing with the fruits of her labor or something like that. But I'm like, I'm still enjoying life. I'm still going on vacations. You see my YouTube channel. I'm still enjoying things. I'm just being very, very conservative with where my money goes. And then whatever is excess is what I get. And if I save it, I save it. So honestly, I do want to do more vlogs, but a lot of times it's just me going around doing drop-in visits for cat sitting or doing boarding or all that kind of stuff. And then we go out like maybe once a week and then maybe every other week. We actually don't even do much, to be honest. Like, we don't go drink. We don't go do partying. We don't do expensive things. We don't do anything crazy for the most part. It's like the same mundane stuff, except for like once in a while we like, ooh, nice dinner. But that's like not even that expensive. Because I don't do those fancy ones. Unless it's like a birthday or an anniversary, then yes, we'd probably do like an omakase, but we don't do that on a frequent basis like a lot of people in New York I see. All right, so that's it. If you have any comments on or questions about anything down below, let me know. And I hope this will resolve a lot of it. I probably have to cut a lot of it. This video has ended up becoming around 30 minutes or so I'm going to probably have to cut out a lot of the rambling. But let me know, because the article... I did not authorize any of the articles. I only authorized the Market Watch video because they filmed me and interviewed me. So all the other articles, they got context from somewhere, or they just made up context and they quoted the video, but they didn't actually provide the context of the video, because at least the Market Watch like was filmed in a way that they knew the context, so they can twist it in a certain way that was more accurate. But everywhere else was taking it from the Market Watch video, so naturally they don't have the context. They don't even provide like the fact that I worked at Accenture. So they all think I did everything like this as a Google employee. I'm like, no, technically everything I did was as a Accenture employee. I just happened to be a Google employee. In fact, when the Market Watch video was filmed, I think it was in August of last year or July of last year. It was only 4 months after I started. So I could barely do anything in that 4 months. If anything, the only thing that was really done during that time was the wedding planning, which you can see the YouTube video over here of how we did that. And that's pretty much it. All right, bye.